Greetings.
Lovely, we're back to this again.
Hello, my pulchritudinous lovelies. How are you doing today? Anyway, we're on chapter 7.
Yes. Didn't it blow your mind, Claude Frollo?
Are you able to hear the police sirens that I'm hearing?
I heard a small... I can kind of hear it. Yeah, now I heard it.
Yay! Yay. There were gunshots coming from both sides of my house today.
Lovely.
Yeah, that happens when you live out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Anyway, we're on part 7, an act of forgiveness and act of theft. Later that night, in a tiny house in medieval Paris, Claude Frollo and Denisha have had a minor spat, but his grace can't stay angry at his 14th lady forever. Read on. Again, something about the fact that this is his 14th lady and we just were recently informed that he has a 19th.
Well. Okay, so Claude got ticked that Iggy sneaked back to 15th century France without Fern's knowledge. Man, was he sore when we got home last night.
Well, he was riding a horse.
That's my line, and it's your line now. I'm going to try and ignore what you just said.
As much as you may try to ignore what he said, you'll never be able to get it out of your mind. No, fuck.
It's out of my mind now.
Oh, fuck. That's not good.
What?
What?
You okay?
Yeah, you just heard the librarian. That's not good. Anyway. Not usually, anyway. You wouldn't happen to be upset about me selling your soul or anything, would you?
A little bit, but I'm not going to, seek vengeance on it or anything.
Okay, good.
Zane, on the other hand.
Fuck.
Oh, boy, you're in danger.
Yes, Claude did have a few choice words for me once we returned to my Paris home, and I gave it back to him lick for lick. Ew.
Tit for tat.
Tit for tit. How, as I reasoned with him, was I to know that Iggy had taken Jehan's pager from Phoebus, only to use it to return to medieval France. After a long, drawn-out argument, Claude finally realized that all I wanted was to keep Iggy out of trouble. He also didn't mean for all this to backfire on Quasimodo and Phoebus. Each charge of deceit and secrecy that erupted from Claude Frollo's lips was quickly answered with angry words of my own. Claude knew that he could push me so far. Yeah, he found out this sister doesn't relish being pushed around.
I wanna push you around. Well, I will.
Don't you fucking start me.
He softened his tone, put his arm around my shoulder, and said, "My dear, you should have come to me and informed me of Daniel's arrival. I appreciate your concern for Quasimodo, but dearest, Fern doesn't know that her brother has returned. The poor woman's probably beside herself with worry."
Nah, it's Iggy. Is anyone really concerned?
Probably not. Took about an hour of intense, well-chosen words, along with a healthy slice of my blueberry pie and a cup of Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, to finally convince Claude Frollo that I wasn't totally to blame for tonight's throwdown in Victor's Tavern. After all, Denisha...
That's what we need to introduce to medieval France. A diuretic.
After all, Denisha, his business nearly tripled within a matter of hours, and all because of Daniel. Claude, chasing a stray blueberry around his plate, looked at me with the sultriest eyes. To tell the truth, I was quite taken with his performance. I understand Daniel has a promising music career. I nodded. That, and he almost made a break.
I was also quite taken with Daniel.
That, and he almost made a breakthrough when he was in college. A breakthrough? Asked Claude, who by now wanted to learn more about Iggy McMullen. I replied between bites. I suppose Fern told you all this, but Iggy was a genius. He was skipped 3 grade levels and graduated high school before he turned 16. Then he got a full scholarship to UC Berkeley. Claude acknowledged all this, but asked, "But this breakthrough, Fern never told me about it."
All I could recall was Iggy was working on his master's in archaeology, Western civilization, or anthropology. I forget the area. But I know it had to do with ancient Europe and Asia Minor. He supposedly found something that would have blown the lid off the academic world, but Claude said, but the school, through some disgusting, underhanded political move, expelled him. It's a mystery we may never uncover. All I could say was, yes.
I knew that was coming. Still funny. Claude arose from his chair, removed his hat, and said to me in a voice that made me quiver with amorous delight, "Somebody shoot me. Denisha, I hate to change the subject, but that line from the song, shake it? Oh, God.
No. It didn't take me long to figure this out. Oh, you were spying on me when I was singing Shake It, Baby.
And with that, Claude Frollo showed me that he could really shake it, baby.
No.
Even Tom Jones couldn't match this hot performance. Ooh, Claude, my sexy man, you sure can't move. Those painted-on jeans, bumping and grinding. Sugar britches? Oh, my God.
No.
Happy place, Llytic, happy place.
I'm currently looking at the comments from the latest one. Well, this is fairly interesting. Okay, so the Frollo Secret Mistress thing was apparently started on a fan forum for the movie. Which there was a lot of people on there who were Frollo fangirls, which the numbers associated came from when the user joined the forum or created their characters. Let's see, from what I found out, she was pretty bad on the forum too. She used to tell other FSMs to remember Denisha is the one he truly loves. You guys are all just mistresses. The group used to cameo the others' OCs and their stories. Denisha tried to demand that her OCs be in everyone's stories and told them to mention, but Denisha was the one Frollo truly loved.
Wonder how that went over.
Well, thanks for that, Milk and Sugar. That's kind of an interesting thing to know. I feel worse for knowing this in a weird way, but I'm just going to heart your comment there and leave it at that. Yeah. Anyway,
no, sounds like a freaking forum type thing.
Okay, so that's why I specifically mentioned 19th. But I feel like it would be weird for most of them when they did this sort of thing to specifically bring up the number of the other person's OC or themselves or whatever.
Maybe it was like, yeah, I can understand, but like maybe it's like the freaking, maybe it's like the order in which they joined the forum or something like that.
No, it is the order in which they joined the forum. That's what was just said. It was either the order in which they joined the forum or when they had made their OCs. But again, mentioning the number in the fanfic is what I find weird. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same time,
mentioning the character name is one thing in the character description, like making it clear that that's who that is, but like that makes sense to me.
Well, even so, it could just be something that they're doing like as just a forum thing. Like they're like, oh, let's be numbered to make it feel more interesting, like
I
different
know.
spy numbers or
Yes, I
something.
get them being numbered in the forum. I'm talking about in the fan fiction.
I mean,
that's what I'm talking about. That feels weird.
Yeah, it's fan fiction, dude.
Again,
There's a lot of weird colloquialisms that go in with stuff like that.
Okay, but you're not listening. Like, again, it makes sense with the forum.
Mm-hmm.
With the fan fiction is where this feels weird, and with what was mentioned about, like, the writer in the forum, how she was kind of an asshole. I'm wondering if that was a thing she would do, like, as a way of trying to get one over on the other people.
That's a possibility.
That feels like a very weird and specific thing to do. Like, usually whenever you have someone cameo on a piece of writing, you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And with... wait, you just said the thing about him being... Okay, I grinned broadly at the thought of peeling skin-tight denim off his heavenly body.
Well.
So, still smiling, I asked, does mean I'm forgiven. Well, does mean she's forgiven?
I don't know. That's a question that might never be answered. Oh, wait, it might be in this next line.
He answered with a devastatingly sexy smile, a deep, wild growl. Frollo freak is a furry, confirmed. A slow and sensual swivel of the hips. His eyes met mine. They glowed with a delectable mixture of passion and playfulness, which I adored. He's in the mood again. I replied with a come-hither look of my own, then indulged Claude in a mad chase up the stairs. I guess that means you've forgiven me. I, however, have not.
Palace of Justice, the following afternoon.
It was Sunday. It was late Sunday afternoon when I'd arrived at the Palace. Claude had something he wanted to show me, and for once it wasn't his penis. And there were a few things he wanted to discuss. Again, for once not his penis. My Sundays in medieval Paris were often spent as such. Morning mass at Notre Dame, visit with Quasimodo, pay visits to several of my Parisian friends, then head to the Palais and spend Sunday afternoon with Claude. But for this particular Sunday, I had to make a hasty trip to my time. It was a special shopping trip. You know, what I wouldn't give for a Tarrasque to just roll up in here and just fuck with everything.
If only it was a D&D session. Wait, no, let's not set something in this world. That would be terrible.
Well, no, it's France. I'm talking about the mythical Tarrasque, not the D&D Tarrasque.
Oh, okay.
I want the six-legged scorpion turtle lion to roll the fuck up in here and just destroy everything.
Yes, that would be nice.
Very. Either that or the dragon snail.
Or both. Both is good.
Both is good. Both is good. Yes, let's release both on this story. It'll be great. I'm still going to have to try and figure out stat blocks for that shit. Anyway. You see, I had gone out to the Diocese estate, to Phoebus's cottage, just to check on Iggy. I was so relieved that Iggy bore no hard feelings toward the man I loved, and he gave me that shopping list because he wanted to make something special for Phoebus. Another thing I fucking just popped into my head, regarding the whole thing of her being like, remember, Denisha's the one he really loves.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally, like, she's dictating what has to happen in other people's fanfics. And, okay, yes, we've gotten upset about fucking character assassination in the past, but there's a difference between, like, because usually it's a whole thing of, no, you've just turned this person into a dick for no reason. There's a difference between getting upset about that in a fanfic and being like, no, they have to be with this specific person.
That's one of those, like, no, we can't play the way you want to play. We have to follow by my rules and by no one else's.
Like, I make fun sometimes of people who are like, I want to rewrite this story, but with my ships instead. But you know what? I'm not going to be like, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed. Like, oh, God, that...
Just adds layers upon layers to this convoluted mess.
You know what else has layers? Parfaits. Everyone likes parfaits. Cakes have layers. And he gave me that shopping list because he wanted to make something special for Phoebus. You know, a Phoebus and Iggy hookup, that might be one of the few things I'm okay with in this story.
Yeah, based on the way it's being written, I don't think that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah, somehow I doubt that the writer's too gay-friendly. Anyway, since I'm stuck here, I might as well do something to keep myself occupied. Do you mind taking a little time trip and pick up a few things? I mean, she could technically return as soon as she left, so it's not really that big of an issue. Oh, wait, no, it's this story.
I was about to correct you, but I was waiting for you to connect the dots yourself.
You mean point out the thing that I already knew?
Yes.
And that's what I told a tired but amused-looking Claude Frollo when I arrived at the ponies later that afternoon. Honey, he said as I kissed his weary forehead, those two will be the least of your problems. That's the wrong voice. They have a high-powered boom box, a battery-powered boom box, tapes, baking supplies. Whoops, shit. Honey, I said as I kissed his weary forehead, those two will be the least of your problems. They have a battery-powered boom box, tapes, baking supplies. Claude interrupted. Pardon, Denisha, but baking. Yes, they are making pop brownies. It's going to be great. You should check it out. Didn't Ferd tell you that Iggy's a whiz in the kitchen, especially when weed's involved?
He makes all sorts of special kinds of food.
All I can ever think about is that, like, one Game Grumps animation of, like Dan talking about the time he ate, like, 36 pop brownies over the course of one weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Did you manage to get anything done? Well, I tried to play some Morrowind, but that didn't go well. Yeah, he can get down with home baking. I remember long ago when he made all these cakes and pies for a faculty Christmas party. Dear Claude thinly smiled as he leaned back in his chair, his eyes partially closed. I noticed this, then asked, "Baby, didn't you get any rest today?" I grinned, adding, I guess I shouldn't have kept you up so late. You know, with a more likable character, a line like that might pass.
Not with implied frolication.
Yeah, if it weren't for the implied frolication. At that, Claude broke down in hysterical laughter that barely filled the cavernous drawing room. It was then that Claude had asked me more about Iggy and then voiced his own assessments of the man. My love, please understand that I never considered Daniel. Well, let us say I find the man thoroughly intriguing. Claude went on to explain how he noticed a spark in Iggy. A fire so intense. Denisha, I have a feeling that something's happened to Daniel. something that caused this downward slide into. That's it.
Claude
Again,
got up.
dash, not ellipses.
Mm-hmm. Claude got up.
Or be like, say, like he trailed off, his eyes kind of darting back and forth slightly, seeming as though he was putting pieces together before he suddenly exclaimed, "There, did your fucking job for you."
But then there would be more to this that we'd have to read.
Yes, but it would be better written.
Mm-hmm. Where was I? Claude got up. Yes, Claude got up, paced the room a few times, and said, "That can only be it." Is what, Claude? The expulsion. There's more to that story than what Fern and you may already know. No. There's something that goes much deeper. Why would a young man throw away such a bright future, especially since
maybe he shit on the dean's desk.
Especially since you've informed me of this potential breakthrough.
Maybe he shit on the dean's desk.
Claude swept over to me, took me into his arms, and kissed me with fiery passion and gratitude. He then said, before settling back in his chair, "Darling Nisha, you look stunning. I like the hat." Claude, of course, referred to my summer Sunday attire of a long lavender eyelet dress, matching pump's purse, and a broad-brimmed, beribboned picture hat. I gushed my thanks and complimented his attire of black tights, a black velvet doublet, and those adorable shoes. You.
You know, I'd like to point out that the actual, like fucking Monster Girl smut that Ichitan suggested to us is a better written story than this. And I'm not saying that to disparage smut. Good smut is good smut. But what I'm saying is that I care a lot more about the characters in that than I do this. Congratulations, Frollo Freak. Your writing is below Home for Horny Monsters.
Huh. A compliment or an insult? It's hard to tell.
It just kind of fucking hit me because I was like, this managed to be far more just disgustingly sexual than anything in that without any explicit sex happening. There are tons of fucking vivid sex scenes in that. And you know what? I feel much more unclean with this. This makes me feel like I need a fucking shower. He laughed, leaned back, then cooed in a slow, sultry voice. "Nisha, my sweetest honey lady, may I persuade you to tickle the ivories?" That's a weird term for tonsil hockey. My smile was as broad as his. I lifted the lid of this black Steinway Grand and began to play a selection of old George Gershwin standards. Very clear, our love is here to stay, not for a year, but for each and every day. Wait, no, that would have been your line. Whoops.
Ah, well. Less I have to read, so we're good. Okay, so I had to scoot over to make room for my one-man audience, and I didn't mind him singing along, nor the numerous kisses he planted on my cheek.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Claude then voiced his concerns that Phoebus may decide to bring Iggy back to Paris, but I told him while I continue to play Sugar Britches, those two have plenty to keep them occupied, as long as the batteries and food hold out. Couldn't read for a second there. It was odd.
Batteries and food, not batter. I swear you said batter.
I didn't say batter.
This moment, Phoebus and Iggy are passing a pleasant afternoon at the caretaker's cottage. Read on. Why does it keep doing that?
Mm. Hey, man, did I do this right?
Of all the writing quirks I've ever seen, that might be the worst. Like, why is
Maybe
it
this was maybe it was kind of a post by post thing.
Meanwhile, at the Palace of Justice.
I mean, basically, but even then, it's like it still feels awkward and unnecessary.
The thing is it works better in like a fucking children's cartoon than it does fucking writing.
Mm-hmm. Iggy McMullen buried the Iron Dutch oven in the hot coals just like Denisha showed him. The ex-soldier, busily figuring out that marvelous machine, the boombox replied, "Yeah, you got it right. Say, what is that? Smells heavenly." Iggy smiled while he sorted through the mini cassette tapes, ultimately selecting a classic Jimi Hendrix work. "Yeah, Purple Haze. Put us in the mood."
This story doesn't deserve Jimmy.
"Oh, it's just my special recipe brownies. I had Nisha go get chocolate because I discovered you guys didn't have such things." Iggy grinned, adding, "Besides, I had to use my last ounce of my secret ingredient."
I was joking. I was joking.
Man, am I glad I brought that along, or else Fern would have... Hey, I don't want to burn him. When Iggy removed the pot from the coals and removed the lid, Phoebus's senses were inundated with the sweet, exotic aroma of chocolate.
And the deep, earthy smell of pot.
That smells good. I don't think I've ever tasted chocolate. It looks good, too. "Yeah," said the aging hippie. "And wait till you taste them. Oh, if you start feeling funny, that's the secret ingredient." Are you happy, Llytic? You predicted this.
I was joking, and you know what? This would have worked in a better story. But Phoebus paid Iggy no mind as he helped himself to the warm, fudgy, chocolate-laden brownies. On Sunday evening, then into Monday morning, the former hero would undergo the strangest personality changes. I mean, he's just gonna get tired, paranoid, and hungry.
And let's just say that a certain someone will not appreciate Iggy's secret ingredient, nor its effects on the former Captain Phoebus.
Why did Phoebus come to me saying he needed something for his munchies? Later that evening, back at the Palace of Justice.
"Denisha, I believe it's time I showed you something." Claude and I were presently in his study. He had some work to catch up on, and he was grateful I stayed to keep him company. We conversed on a number of subjects, but when I mentioned Theodora's box, Claude became strangely silent. And that's when he decided to confess his latest plan to trap a thief. Claude indicated that cherry wood plant stand, the very item I bought, in the 20th century, mind you, as a surprise gift. You see, Claude had seen this thing long ago in a Broad Ripple antique shop. At once he fell in love with the stand's ornate design, the richly polished wood, and the fact that it had this unusual feature. "My love, watch very carefully," he said as he flipped the curious little lever. Imagine my surprise when a secret drawer on the rear of the stand popped open, revealing an iron key. "Claude Frollo," I whispered, keeping my voice under control. "So is this your hiding place? How ingenious." He smiled, replying, "Yes, I want to thank you for this charming treasure. Nisha, your presence in my life has made so many things possible." "Damn!" Claude's expression changed quickly. I noticed this right away when and asked what was wrong. "This key, I positioned it in such a way that I could look. The key is pointing in the opposite direction. And where's the chain?"
I don't know. Also, it was a nightstand, correct?
No, I think it was like a... Maybe. I don't know.
Cherry wood plant stand.
Mm-hmm. You had the stand part right.
It's the power of my enemy stand. Anyway. As soon as I saw it, I knew I must have it.
Mm-hmm.
Claude, why do you have a nightstand that's also a baseball bat and shield? I knew I must... I saw it and it was love at first sight, Nisha. I knew that I must have this in my office.
Cocks the baseball bat. And it's also a gun.
What? No, this isn't Ruby. At once, Claude Frollo grabbed the key and headed out the door.
Claude, where are you going? To the dungeons, for someone has fallen for my trap. Before I could say any more, I found myself following Claude to his dungeons.
The dungeons. I hate the dungeons. Well, someone's not into bondage. Thomas.
Huh?
Your line.
Was it? Oh,
Yeah.
yes. In the dungeons beneath the palais. That's how I think it was said.
It's gone all right, said Claude after he unlocked a secret room located off his private torture chamber.
Cool.
I'm... Woo! Woo! Woo!
Yes, he's a good man, this guy you're dating.
Woo! So, how exactly did the women in that forum that Milk and Sugar mentioned feel about the torture thing? I guess once we finally get to this episode being posted, you can tell me in the comments, Milk and Sugar, how they would have felt about this. If you know. I await your response. I took a good look and he was right. Theodora's box, along with its iron-reinforced chest, was missing. Damn, not only did she have a nice box, but a nice chest, too.
A seething Claude Frollo called out for every guard in the building to search every room and every inch of the grounds.
I'm a child.
Yes.
We returned to his study only to find Gerard there. He had brought up a tray of sweets. Pardon the intrusion, your grace, he said. Then he shot me a withering look, crisply saying, Good evening, mademoiselle. Gerard faked a pleasant smile, then continued, Your Excellency, I have taken upon myself to bring you and your lady a treat. Gerard was interrupted by Claude's booming voice. Gerard, have you seen anyone suspicious lurking around my study? Quick response. No, your grace. I've seen no one. Wait a minute. But I suddenly recall. Nope, this is starting to turn into Mark Hamill's Joker. What do you say, Bats?
Kinda. I can kind of hear it.
Good to know that I have to strangle myself to do that voice.
Okay. All right. So it's I suddenly recall. I was waiting for another line, and then I looked. It's like, no, that is the line. At that moment, a guard.
Oh, did I? No, wait. I did say the wait a moment, but I suddenly recalled. Yeah.
Yeah, you did say that. I was waiting for you to say one more thing because I thought there was going to be something after that, but nope. That's just the annoying quirk this writing thing is going on.
One more night, one more sunset, baby, I'd be satisfied. But then again, I know what it would do. Anyway.
At that moment, a guard came into the room and said, Sir, we found some incriminating evidence in Francois Pateau's quarters. I couldn't believe this. Claude couldn't believe this. Did I hear you correctly, Francois Pateau? What did you find? Asked Claude. Hold on. Lieutenant Lessaber was the one who had Sir Raven's voice, right?
No, that was Gerard.
Okay, and we found these things, replied Lieutenant Lessaber.
But for some reason, you went with Sleepy Flamboyant there for a second.
That wasn't what I was aiming for, but okay, I guess it works.
Sir, we found some incriminating evidence in Francois Pateau's quarters.
I was trying to go for something else, and it didn't work. Ah, well.
Then
No worries.
Sever showed Claude several items found in Francois' quarters. Two broken padlocks, a heavy chain. The very chain, said Claude. The empty chest. But where's the box?
Do you know where the box is? Just turns it to
Pretty sure it's in between Theodora's legs.
Is it behind the bed?
No. I already said where it is.
Immediately, Claude ordered his men to find Francois and arrest the boy for theft. He then turned to me and said, "My love, I can't believe Francois would do such a thing. How could he? And after all the trust and confidence I had in him." Poor Claude. He was so disappointed, so distraught that a good kid had taken it upon himself to steal a priceless artifact.
Oh no, poor Claude Frollo. Claude was reluctant to arrest his young protege, but the moment Francois returned from his evening walk, not rock, the poor boy was immediately holy shit. Shackled, not shrackled, and locked away in a remote dungeon cell. Poor Francois, his face was the very picture of despair and bewilderment as he screamed repeatedly, "I didn't do it, your grace, believe me. I knew nothing about this gold box."
My heart ached for Francois.
I finally asked Claude what would happen to Francois, although he wanted to spare me the sordid details. Denisha, due to the circumstances of this crime, Francois Pateau will receive the ultimate punishment. Implied frolication. I mean death.
It's well after midnight, and something dirty is going down by the docks of Notre Dame. Oh God, they're going to drown him.
Even I wouldn't want to deal with implied frolication. And I've done some terrible things in my time.
Llytic, you there? There was some static in the headset there for a sec.
Oh boy. You know, I don't think it's exactly the same thing I did. I think it's more of a different situation. One that I do not like.
Okay, I mean, as long as
it's one thing to have an elder being after your life. It's another thing to have one haunt you. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay.
A rather large, dark-haired man wearing an oversized cloak to conceal his identity quickly and quietly made his way to the docks. He was accompanied by two young men, one of which carried a locked wooden chest. There on the riverbank, a much older gentleman waited for them and smiled when they approached.
"I trust you weren't followed," said the older man. "No, sir, I made sure of that." The large man smiled and continued, "You should have seen old Frollo. He was quite beside himself with the box missing and all." The young men laughed as they recounted their tale of framing the minister's protege. To this, the big black-haired man smiled when he added that he and the boys, had everything covered. After all, sir, this box is yours, and poor Francois Pateau will pay the ultimate price. He then beckoned to the boys to open the chest.
I'm sorry, what exactly was the fucking trap that Claude laid?
It's never really explored.
You can't just say that a trap has been laid and not have a trap happen. At the very least, I expect a very feminine cross-dresser in the room.
I expect a bear trap that you'll step on, but that's me.
Within seconds, the boys produced it. A box of the finest gold and encrusted with flawless pearls, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires. Well, good to know that someone got pierced.
The older man smiled more broadly as he thanked the big man and the boys.
That was such a stupid sentence. My dear Gerard, I can't thank you enough for everything. His smile became even more broad as he added, Come September. The man paused, thumbed the box's pearl trace trimmed latch, then declared, "Claude Frollo will be a doomed man." You didn't need to make that, you didn't need to hit the enter key for that. Also, we have only been going for about 30 minutes.
Yep. We got what I was thinking we were going to do at least one more part. Coming up, Claude intercepts a message from Joe Wood. Who?
I think I knew a guy back when I did porn with that name.
Iggy and Phoebus go one toke over the line, and FSM relays vital information. Claude Frollo finally learns the truth behind Theodora's box and learns the truth behind that mysteriously abandoned research project.
That's the thing I'm talking about. That's the thing I'm talking about. That's the fucking thing I'm talking about. Because it was the whole thing of the Frollo secret mistress thing. But as it was stated on the forums, the writer would be like, Denisha is the one he truly loves. The rest of you are all just his mistresses. Nothing more. That's what I'm talking about. Like the fact that specific terminology and the number thing is used in the story makes me, the way it's used makes me think that this wasn't a normal thing for the forum. Like, that specific part wasn't a normal thing. Like, yeah, the cameos and that shit, but that part, though.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from now.
Part 8, Timely Revelation. It's the Monday morning following Francois' arrest. Let's travel to the 20th century to the home of Denisha's parents. Joe Wood is struggling with the pager. Read on. Let's do the time warp again.
Jerry, called out Joe Wood, how do you work this thing?
Geraldine Wood put down her morning paper and took Joe's pager. The wondrous communicator that allowed them to contact their daughter whenever she was in medieval Paris. Here, she said with exasperation. The blue button activates the message code. Punch that, then the instructions on the screen pop up. Then punch in Nisha's code and type your message. Joe finally got the screen to appear, then asked his wife, Okay, now what is... No, fuck, I can't do an old man voice. Okay, now what is Nisha's code again? Jerry sighed. PS 121. Make sure you enter it exactly right, or else your message won't reach her.
At that moment, the phone rang. It was one of Jerry's church friends. Joe knew this would be a long conversation, but he couldn't wait for his wife's assistance. This information is too important. Maybe Claude could use this when he and Andre present that box to the king. Once again, Joe got confused when he began to enter the code. What was that? PS1? Or was SP2? That damn fangled technology.
Lil Wayne, fuck, I forgot exactly what it is. Yeah, I think it's Lil Wayne. Pops the fucking what?
He had knocked over his coffee cup, spilling the warm brown liquid into the saucer. Thank goodness it didn't spill out onto the table. Now, what was that code? Oh, yes. SC1024. Is that right?
Oh, my fucking God.
That was the code Joe entered, not knowing that the message he was about to send would not reach his daughter, but someone else.
Fucking God. No.
What?
No. No. This isn't hitting the wrong fucking contact on your phone. No. You don't, by chance, type in the fucking pager code for someone else who happens to know your daughter who you were trying to contact. You don't do that on accident.
But Llytic, he's old and doesn't understand technology.
I will fucking end you. No. 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 Bad Frollo freak. Oh my God. 15th century Paris, the Palace of Justice.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, it's Denisha. All right, I don't have to do a special voice. Geesh, what a night! The box is missing. Francois arrested for theft, and my baby spent a good part of the night worrying and fretting. I went on home. Poor baby needed to be alone. I hope these muffins lighten his dark mood. My Claude, my sugar purchase.
Again, 100 times filthier than anything in Home for Horny Monsters. I wish I could say I was joking. Feel a lot more unclean with this. Let myself as usual. I let myself as usual, then walked the length of the many corridors to Claude's private chambers. Somehow I had a feeling that Claude was beginning to have his doubts about Francois's guilt. But it was all there. The broken locks, the empty chest, the keychain, found in Francois's quarters. It did seem rather odd that Lieutenant LeSabre found these items so quickly. No matter. Claude will get to the bottom of this. And if Francois did take Theodore's box, whereas again, I'll tell you right where it is.
Indeed, that priceless box was nowhere to be found, even after Claude had the palais thoroughly searched. Poor Claude was so preoccupied with finding that box, and so beside himself, knowing that he would have to explain all this to Etienne and Andre.
Claude. I've heard of many cases of people being unable to find certain parts of the anatomy, but never the entire goddamn organ.
Oh, Claude, I shouldn't have deserted you last night, but there's something wrong, something terribly wrong. I also knew that Claude probably hadn't slept much, so I brought him an early morning treat, blueberry muffins and a thermos of coffee. He should like that. Besides, I had to do something with all those blueberries.
Why are you bringing the beans back in time? That's the only way you would do it. Like to continuously be making coffee, you'd have to bring the beans back. Like a big old bag of beans.
Nah, wouldn't surprise me if that's how they kept doing that, but I don't know for sure.
Good morning, Denisha. Did you sleep well, my love? Claude greeted me with a kiss. Unusual, he'd be wiped out from all this. Morning, sugar britches. You look well rested, but I was shushed by another kiss as Claude beckoned me to close the door and lock it. Claude, what's up?
Over our breakfast, Claude explained that he knew all along that Francois didn't take that box. Rather, he had a fairly good idea that this was an inside job. The only thing I need is proof, he whispered to me. He leaned back in his chair, savored his coffee and muffins, then asked a favor of me. Sure, Claude, what? Claude Frollo grinned because he knew what he was about, what he about to ask me. Oh, please, Claude, not the... My sweetness, I want you to pay our Francois a visit. Just a friendly, personal visit. Question the boy. At least he knows. The least he knows could very well break this mystery. Started to protest, but it was no use. Claude knew I always hated the dungeons, but I assured him that under these circumstances, heck, I'd move in down there if it would help Francois. At this statement, Claude fell out in gales of delighted laughter. No, my dearest, that would be quite unnecessary. He then said he was heading out to the Darcy estate to check on Phoebus and Daniel. I have yet to contact Fern, what with the theft and all. The grin grew broader.
Phoebus and Butthead.
The grin grew broader as he added, "Ah, yes, I've sent a rather terse message to Jahan via special courier. He is to drop whatever he's doing and return home." My smile broadened as well. My curiosity ran wild as I reply. And what awaits the wayward brother, Claude?
He is a Claude. Claude's eyes lit up with wicked delight as he replied, "Yeah, you'll see, my dearest. You'll see." Well, that wasn't vaguely threatening.
Later that morning in the Palais stables, the Minister of Justice...
Duke boys were up to their old antics.
The Minister of Justice prepares to leave for Chateau Darcy. He is about to receive two very important pieces of information.
I think the other thing is the fact that they're in present tense, which I fucking hate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it goes like the start of these is like suddenly present tense, then the rest of it is past tense. Claude Frollo adjusted the triangular hat at the last minute, and at the last minute checked his pocket. Oh yes, it's here. In the event I need to contact Denisha, my only hope is that Francois will open up to her, perhaps reveal anything that will break the case. Denisha was correct in her earlier suspicion, but I laughed it all off. After all, if he's been in service to me for more than... But how? How did he know? And why would he do such a thing? No matter. Once he finds out that...
There it goes again, feeling like there should be more, but there's not more. There's just ellipses. Come on.
Again, ellipses at least make sense. Would at least make sense if he was trailing off. Lost in thought, kind of just drifting from thought to another. But no, here he gets interrupted.
Claude, called out a young female voice. Wait, I need to tell you something important. This was Coviel, Claude Frollo's 21st FSM.
You see, it feels weird.
This whole story feels weird.
Coviel, my dear, what's wrong? Claude greeted his Frollo secret mistress, number 21, with smiles and hugs. And tongue. Again, asking what was wrong. Coviel took several deep breaths while Claude tenderly caressed her back and shoulders. I feel unclean. Unfortunately, none of these mistresses will likely be the kind of mistress that tends to run in my circles, so we'll never get a situation in which Frollo is getting mercilessly whipped.
I'm glad you have hobbies.
Anyway, she went on to explain how, on the same Saturday night, Claude spent with his 14th Frollo secret mistress, she spotted a large man take something from the minister's plant stand. It was a baseball bat. I had dropped by, but you weren't there. I supposed you were with another of your ladies. I'm really curious what these other women are like. I'm willing to bet that most of them are more likable than Denisha. Coviel continued. Anyway, Claude, I waited for you but you fell asleep in your study. I was sleeping in that big chair when I heard him. That would be great. That scene. Had what, Coviel? Coviel replied. I couldn't make out his face, but I knew he was a big man, with dark hair and beard. He took something from that curious-looking plant stand, a baseball bat. Then he left, but I followed him.
Isn't that a strange moss-covered rock? Coviel further...
okay there?
What? Coviel further explained how she followed this man who was soon accompanied by a soldier. That awful Lieutenant LeSabre and 2 boys. The 4 had gone down to the dungeons, then returned with a heavy iron-reinforced chest. I stayed hidden in the shadows, but I saw it all.
Yeah. Well, it looks like that whole thing about when they asked, you made sure you weren't followed? Nope. They did not. Claude Frollo was now even more intrigued. Tell me more, my dear.
Then Coviel revealed how she followed the men to Francois' room. He wasn't there, for he had gone to Victor's tavern. The remainder of her recollection consisted of 4 men emerging from Francois' quarters, carrying nothing but a small wooden chest. Oh yes, Claude, I heard this breaking noise, as if they were breaking heavy iron. But when they came out, they had nothing but this wooden chest. That's when I saw the big man take the chest and leave. Claude Frollo mulled over what Coviel had said, and it was all beginning to fit. That's it. He is involved in this after all, and they've framed Francois, the scoundrels. No, we must keep up the pretense. Let them think this little caper worked. Not even the cleverest criminal in the world can outsmart Claude Frollo. Are you sure about that? My 14th and my 21st SFM will each receive a special reward for a job well done.
Ew. Ew. Oh, God. Again, even weirder when Frollo uses the term FSM. Yes. My lovelies. Each of you Frollo's secret mistresses will receive a special reward.
Okay, so this is from Frollo's point of view. I thought it was still Denisha.
No, that was Frollo's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm realizing that now.
My 14th, my 21st.
Yes.
He embraced and kissed Covale. Then sweetly said, "My sweet Covale, thank you for this timely news. And as a token of my gratitude, my dear, have you ever been to Llytic Ballet in the fall of the year?" In the fall of the year! There's a marvelous chateau located near one of the best vineyards in France. I believe a few weeks of wine, music, passion.
At this invitation, Coviel returned the kiss, smiled, and asked, "When do I start packing?"
Also, I'd like to point out that he has done nothing clever in regards to this. He just got told what happened.
Yes.
Not even like sent out some feelers or like spies or what have you. No. This is not him being smart.
Yes, well, he's Claude fucking Frollo. He doesn't need anyone to think he's clever except for him, because that's all that matters.
The only people who need to think that I'm clever are me and the women I'm having sex with.
Yeah, basically.
Also, 21!
I wonder if there's more.
5 people that want to fuck Frollo, much less 21.
Weird.
In at very least, like that one person in one of the comments, I think they had at least read the original book, so they weren't going off of movie Frollo. That fucking forum was about the movie. They were after movie Frollo.
This is taxing, to say the least.
Much later, on the road to Chateau d'Arcy, Claude Frollo receives another message.
My beloved has sent a message. Maybe she's extracted information from Francois, the poor boy. I've known all along he wasn't capable of doing such a thing. Wait until I get my hands on those 4 thieving vermin.
My 4 hands.
2 burst out of his back. Body horror style.
I don't know why you're looking at me. It wasn't me that did that this time. Okay. Astride his stunning black stallion, Claude Frollo was presently en route to Chateau d'Arcy when his pager went off. He smiled, flipped the device open, and began to read what scrolled across the screen. Within seconds, the minister's expression changed. Claude was indeed puzzled. Well, he's not a very bright man. This message is from Joseph Wood for Denisha. Poor man, he must have mixed up the codes. This is interesting. You have an interesting definition of interesting.
Nisha, I showed that photo to Sue Selden and she recognized that box right away. She's meeting with me today to fill me in on that 20-year-old research project. Honey, you won't believe what Sue found out. I mean, this is major. Can you tear yourself away for an afternoon and make that time trip? Sue's bringing copies of the original research. And to make it worth your while, I've brought some really delicious barbecue from Bon Mars. I knew that would do it.
Smile.
See you around noon. Love, Daddy.
So, Again, I feel like I don't need to point out the whole thing of you don't need to carve out an afternoon when you have time travel.
Hey, just...
Claude Frollo.
I'm just going to keep saying what I've already said. This is just dumb. I'm not enjoying it, but let's move on.
Claude Frollo reread the message, then put spurs to Snowball and sped to Chateau d'Arcy. Along the way, he pondered Joe's message. She seems found something major. What if that was Danielle's, not Danielle's, two different? Nope. Daniel's abandoned project. I have to know if it will save Francois' life and capture 4 thieves. But stop thinking about ass for 5 seconds, Claude. As Claude neared the estate, an idea quickly came to him. Of course, why not go to the 20th century myself? After all, I, as part of that select group of time travelers. Yes! Why, I can find out things those thieves will never know. Now, how to send a message to Joseph? After hitching Snowball in the d'Arcy stables, the Minister of Justice took out his pager and coded a message to Joe Wood.
Professor Wood, I've received Anisha's message by accident. Apparently,
oh my god, he puts fucking ellipses in his... I hate it. No.
Apparently you misentered the codes, you fool, but no matter. There has been a theft and your information is vital in cracking this case. I understand your colleague has uncovered the original research. It may please you that I may have partially uncovered this mystery as well. Call it a hunch, but may I call on you? Now? There is precious time to lose as a young man's life hangs in the balance.
Time travel.
Frollo. Oh,
Time
yes.
travel.
Did you say barbecue?
Time travel. Time is not an issue.
Yeah. Just roll with it.
No. They refuse.
Okay, dude, you do you.
Claude Frollo smiled and was ready to walk the few feet towards the caretaker's cottage. But looking at his pager, mulling the recent revelations, Claude decided not to check on Phoebus and Iggy. No, this is more important. He sent a message to Nisha.
My darling Nisha, I've received vital information regarding this case. I have to leave for the afternoon, but expect me home before dark. Ah, yes, do you remember where I stashed the extra key?
And it's right next to the weed.
And do you still remember the secret passage that leads from the dungeons to the outside? I think our Francois is about to make a little jailbreak tonight. Do not make a move yet, my Denisha, for I'll explain everything when I return. Let's just say that 4, perhaps 5 very large, nasty rats are about to fall into my trap. I love you, sweet lady. Claude, Sugar Britches.
You know, I really wish that he had signed that the same way to Denisha's father. Oh, yes, did you say barbecue? Claude, Sugar Britches.
Apparently, it's a term of high esteem. I will be addressed as Sugar Britches by everyone in my retinue.
My title is no longer Minister of Justice. I have reached higher. From now on, I shall be known as Claude Frollo, Sugar Britches.
Oh, it took a fucking turn.
There, now she'll come through for me. Now, Joseph, I hope you'll come through for... Then, concealing himself within the barn, Claude Frollo pressed the red button and vanished in a blaze of white.
In the Palais dungeons, Denisha mulls over Claude's request.
Did he really mean that? He wants to break did he really mean that? He wants to break Francois out of prison. Yes, just say this out loud, Denisha. That's a great idea.
When I received that odd message from Claude, I did as requested and found that hidden set of keys. I remember all right, behind a loose stone.
Of course, that meant keeping Francois company until Claude Frollo returned, though I hated being down in dungeons for any length of time. But it was time well spent as I got to know more about the special young man. As Claude related to me, Francois was orphaned at the age of 5. His father died before Francois was born. Francois's mother died while giving birth to her second child. This chid, who died the day after Madame Patot's death, was fathered by men who Madame Patot had taken in as a broder. His identity was still unknown.
Border.
Yeah, border, chid, man who, but fathered by man who.
Yes, man who.
Again, there were bigger issues with this sentence than me having dyslexic moment right there. Mm-hmm. Like chid.
Mm-hmm.
This chid, I'm going to call all children that from now on. So how's the chids? So how's the chids?
Anyway, at age 10, Francois enrolled in Fern's orphan school and became one of the brightest, most talented boy in building. It's actually in the building, but I thought boy in building worked better.
Most talented boy in the building.
Fern later told me that Claude was so impressed with Francois that he wanted to take the boy on as sort of apprentice. It was Fern who personally recommended Francois for a private study program. A program pioneered by Fern with assistance from Dwayne, who had organized innovative vocational programs in the 20th century.
What has happened with this section?
Maybe they didn't go over it with as fine of a comb as they normally did, or their editor was on leave.
Ignoring the fact that for the first time in a while, we have had a paragraph start with anyway. Like, that fucking takes me back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Fucking hell. Like, that's the kind of thing where you need to have, like, a good characterization for your narration.
Mm-hmm.
Which this does not. But also, that sequence of fucking typos, dear God. I had always been impressed with this young man. So much that, deep in my heart, I knew he couldn't have stolen that box. No, this was a frame-up. And I can bet good money that the guilty party was...
My mind was brought back to the present when Francois suddenly said, Ethiopian.
No, the
Pardon?
French.
Pardon? I asked. You're Ethiopian. I could tell from your features. You're definitely not a gypsy. I smiled and informed Francois that I was from the New World and that I was of African descent. He became extremely intrigued as I told him everything about my country, but not about my time. Forgetting you, but not the time.
You've badmouthed the Roma people enough. They have lovely tomatoes.
Go very well on sandwiches, and if you chop them up finely, they work well as a base for salsa.
I'm trying to remember. I remember like one of those brick oven pizza places would do I think it was sun-dried Roma tomatoes as a topping.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. There's a few different places. Fuck. Okay. You know lemongrass sushi?
I can't say.
You went to Young's. We went to Young's together.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another one, lemongrass. It's out by one of the Uniteds.
Mm. Okay.
But basically, there used to be a pizza place right next to it that was one of those brick oven places.
Okay.
And they had like sun-dried Roma tomatoes as one of the toppings. Also spinach. That was good.
Sounds good.
Soon thereafter, Francois finally confessed. I was with her, Mademoiselle Nisha. With who, Francois? Jeanette, that cute little maid. Not gonna say it. She and I have been seeing each other ever. Oh my god! Oh my god! She and I have been seeing each other ever she came to work in the Palais.
Despite everything, I honestly don't hate Francois all that much. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't seem like.
Just wait till they corrupt him.
I don't want that
That's
to
the whole
happen.
thing of like, I don't hate Quasimodo in the story. I just hate how he's used. Quasimodo deserves better.
True.
You do not diss the Pope of Fools.
Francois went on to tell me that Francois Francois went on to tell me that he returned to the Palais that Saturday night, only to run into Jeanette, then spent the night in her quarters. Oh my.
Oh my.
He also maintained his alibi that he and Jeanette were out that Sunday evening. Didn't want to say anything because I didn't want Jeanette in trouble, said Francois.
That would all make sense. But who else knows this little romance? Claude, do you know that your protege and maid are an item? I have to know.
Just reminds me of this one episode, like this one scene from Gravity Falls. I mean, I don't know why this is reminding me of this, but it's like Seuss's abuela just. Seuss's life is my soap opera. That's just kind of what that reminds me of. Anyway, at once I banged on the door and asked the guard to let me out. Where are you going, Mademoiselle Nisha? I thought you'd stay and chat longer.
Didn't she also once make a comment that, like, Seuss's dad was in hell or something like that?
It was basically like, I want you to get married so I can go before I go to heaven with the angels. And Grandpa. No, he is not there.
Yeah, that's what it was. No, he is not there. Oh, fucking hell.
I go vacuum my face now.
I replied, I'm heading to Chateau d'Arcy. Hopefully I can run into his grace. If what you say is true, and we can get Jeanette to corroborate your story. I almost said that in like fucking ooh-woo voice. Whoops.
Please don't.
We can get Jeanette to corroborate your story. Wasn't even intentional. For some reason, my brain was like, oh yeah, you pronounced the R there as the first two R's there as W's. It's like, Jeanette to corroborate your story. Francois' chubby face lit up when he said that. When I said that. Mademoiselle, you do that for me? But what about Minister Frollo? He might not approve of me seeing one of his servants. I shot back. Honey, after I convince his grace of your innocence, he just may personally bless your little romance. Oh no, he's gonna die. It's gonna spiral downwards fast.
In the old barn on the Darcy estate.
This is strange. Snowball's here, but where's Claude? Maybe he's at the cottage. Can't be at the house. Where did Claude go? Might as well go inside, check on Iggy and Phoebus. Little did I suspect that at the very moment I entered the caretaker's cottage, two good-time boys had taken a magic carpet ride. They got stoned, you fuck.
Of course, once again, I had to cover up this little party before Claude returned, and to my surprise, Claude wasn't the least bit upset when he returned to relay the most wonderful news. Even Iggy would be drawn into Claude's scheme to trap a few nasty thieves. And like Iggy said, it done hit the fan.
Yeah, especially when Claude learned the identity of the real mastermind behind theft. And when Iggy found them, it was a rude awakening for everyone.
Coming up, Claude recruits Iggy. The aging hippie overhears a conversation. LeSabre spills the beans. Nisha sobers up a flying Phoebus. A mad chase through time. Oh boy, what thrills will await us next time in Dragon Ball Z.
Ooh-wee. Anyway. Oh, you already put it. Never mind. Okay,
yes.
Let me pin it.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Special thank you to Destiny Baird for supporting us on Patreon. If you like what we do and would like to support us, then consider going down to that link in the description and visiting. Well, site of the very same name. Just donating us any amount of money you really want to. Every little bit helps. It's up to you.
Y'all have a good one.
Hooray. Bye-bye.